So I was taking a look at this before I began, and this is going to be different than usual. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another TBR, this time for March of 2024. I believe it's March already? Is this year zipping by for anyone else? I mean, all kinds of fun things are going to be happening in March, but I got to be honest with you guys, this is something that's kind of had some recent changes in the 11th hour. I kind of looked at this list and said, you're doing that thing again you said you weren't going to do, which is start like multiple book ones of series. And I said, I've got to stop doing this before I realize it. I'm going to have started a half dozen series that I'm going to just have ongoing. And that means the success rate of finishing those series, usually pretty low. So with this, I said, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to kind of look at what I want to kind of wrap up, and then I'll kind of go forward from there. So if you've been kind of following my methods on some of these, you'll see there'll be some things I'm going to be kind of finishing up this month, and then I'm going to kind of start to focus on finishing some things before I start newer series. So let's go ahead and kick it off, guys, with the first one, which I really can't tell you a ton about because it's just going to be the third part of Shogun. And I felt like if I tell you, like usual, what this part of the book's about is just going to be spoiling the first 2/3 of this book for you. Just know, guys, if you want to know what Shogun is about, if you don't know yet, go back and watch my January TBR vid where I kind of give you a synopsis of this. It's Stranger in Strange Land. Guy kind of shipwrecks in 1600s in ancient Japan and finds himself in the middle of a little bit of a civil war. And it's kind of the outsider's perspective of what's going on. But it's a very, very great book when you want to know more about the Japanese culture at that time period and many, many other things. I'm just saying, when I said a weekly update recently, it's like this book packs an emotional wallop that I wasn't really expecting. But I am just so excited for the climax of this because, I'm this close to the end, and I'm glad I broke it up over 3 months because it's not just because it's a beast of a book, but because I feel like I'm really enjoying the journey that way by taking my time and not trying to speed through it. And it's kind of aligning properly with the FX adaptation that does come out starting this week. So if you guys haven't read the book and you're really interested in it, I think you should check out that series because I think it's just going to be amazing. But as for the rest, guys, I am going to be resuming with The War for the Rose Throne. This is Priest of Lives by Peter McLean. I'm sorry to say it right. I believe it's McLean. That's what I've been told. So I think when I talked to John Gwynn, he said it was Macklin. And I've said Macklin. People are like, that's wrong. So people have told me it's like McLean, like John McClane from Die Hard. I really enjoyed the first book, Priest of Bones. And so much so that I almost said, screw my schedule. And just said I was going to kind of rip through this entire series because they aren't long reads. But cooler heads have prevailed. I did consider doing 2, 3, and 4 this month, but I want to make sure that I'm prioritizing Shogun and finishing some other things first. But as for Priest of Lies, what is this book about? Well, Thomas Piety has been many things: soldier, priest, gangster, and spy. As Thomas's power grows, the nobility better watch their backs. People are weak, and the poorer and more oppressed they are, the weaker they become, until they can't take it anymore. And that's when they rise up. May the gods help their oppressors. When Thomas Piety returned from the war, he just wanted to rebuild his empire of crime with his gang of pious men. But his past drew him back in and brought him more power than he ever imagined. Now, with half his city in ashes and the Queen's men at his back, the web of political intrigue stretches out from the capital and pulls Thomas in. And in Dansburg, the nobility fights with words, not blades. But the results are every bit as bloody. In this pit of beasts, Thomas must decide once and for all whether he truly is the people's champion or just a priest of lies. So I don't know if the series continues to be as good as book 1. Everybody's told me pretty much if you like book 1, you're going to like this whole series. I don't know, but I'm very excited because so far this year, this is the best new series I've started. I'm so excited to resume it. And we'll be talking about it when it does happen. And I'm sure I'm probably going to try to do books 3 and 4 together, kind of like I did with Realm of the Eldlings and The Expanse, where I kind of read those back to back to kind of wrap up the series. But I'm beyond excited to do it, and I can't even really explain just how damn excited I am for it because I just feel like that's a series that scratched that grimdark itch that I needed so much. Those difficult to reach places, you know what I'm talking about. Get your mind out of the gutter. Threadlight. I'll be resuming I'll actually be concluding Threadlight. I'm actually reading Stones of Light right now, but I'll be wrapping that series up with Bonds of Chaos. So I'll get 2 series off my list here, or actually, I guess 3, actually, if you count Shogun book that as a series, since I'm doing it over 3 months. So 3 I'll be kind of wrapping up this month with Bonds of Chaos. With this one, I don't know where it's going to go, obviously, because like I said, I'm only a couple chapters into book 2 right now, but I definitely think I could probably wrap those up. If I read them back to back, I could probably wrap it up, because this is pretty short for most of the epic fantasy books that I read. And again, that omnibus edition is just so beautiful, isn't it? Makes you want to read it, don't it? You should. You should read it. Let's talk about what Bonds of Chaos is about. Don't worry about spoilers, because I proofread this to make sure I didn't spoil myself by spoiling you. To break the bonds, sacrifices will be made. When all was lost, the heralds returned, and the world embraced them as gods and saviors. But there are some who know the truth. The heralds are not what they seem. Now, in a desperate attempt to stop them, Chris and the others travel to the ℚ𝕚𝕤𝕤 with hopes of enlisting the only Amber Threadweaver with the power to help. Chris, Laurel, ℚ𝕚𝕤𝕤, and those they love, together, they will stop the gods, or they will die trying. So again, if you're a big Brandon Sanderson fan, I think you're going to love that series. I feel like it's a hat tip in many ways. I feel like it's a series that feels like it could exist within the Cosmere, but I never once feel like, oh yeah, this is just Mistborn light, like I've seen it described by some people. I feel like you will get a lot of that investiture that makes you feel like you're reading a Cosmere book, but it definitely doesn't feel like it's something that's just a greatest hits of the Cosmere. I think you're going to really like what you find. So Brandon Sanderson fans, if you haven't read Threadlight yet, I implore you to do so. Now, here's the first real big major change, guys. I've been doing 1 book per month of Blackwater. Now, this has 6 books inside of it. This is the actual collection of them. And it was really cool doing that. But the thing is this story takes place over several generations of this family. And I felt like the family tree was getting so big and so many characters. And I felt like I was starting to forget, who's kid and things like that. Who is this one person in this town? And I said, I've got to kind of pick this up and read it now. I just finished book 3 today, so I'm at the halfway point right now. So I think what I'm going to do in March here is I'm going to do the rest of it. 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to do that all back to back and wrap this up, because this is really good. I really like where it's going. And you kind of forget that you're reading a horror book, because he gets you so wrapped up in this family drama that all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, tentacles, I forgot. But I think if you're into Southern Gothic, kind of that time period in the early 1920s, and it kind of goes through the years, I love stuff like that, slice of life. So you get so wrapped up in the slice of life and you forget about the big greasy monster that's going on in it. But I am so curious to see where this is going to go, and I'm glad I did make the decision to finish this up, because this is just phenomenal writing, and I'm just anxious to find out how it does conclude. But what is Volume 4 through 6 about? Well, the war is over, and a new era is dawning for the Kasky family. Eleanor's years of relentlessness will finally bear fruit, as yesterday's enemies are about to become tomorrow's friends, and changes arise from where no one could have expected them. The conflict in Europe has brought new blood to Perdido. Now men come and go like puppets on the Kasky property, without realizing that perhaps their lives are hanging by a thread. Already the most powerful family in Perdido, the Kaskys will soon experience success beyond their wildest imaginings. But prosperity comes with a price, and in the end, even the Kaskys must pay, for even unimaginable wealth can't protect the Kasky family from the sins of its past, or the judgment that is soon coming due. So I wish I could tell you more about this book, guys, and I will do a dedicated review for this when I finish it, because it has just been an incredible experience. And I feel like even if this doesn't feel like your comfort zone is something that you would read, I think everyone would find something to take away from this, because it is an incredible character study of numerous people within this family. It's really great stuff. Can't say enough about it. Robert McCammon fans, I think you will absolutely eat this book. It's really that good, right? It makes me think of like something Southern Gothic, a little bit of like The Fisherman, the good parts of The Fisherman kind of wrapped in there. There's lots of stuff about this, maybe even a little bit of Needful Things. It's really well done. Stephen King fans, Robert McCammon fans will absolutely love this, and I can't wait to conclude it here in March. So, that feels like, okay, Shogun, that's about 400 plus pages. I feel like Threadlight and War for the Roadstone, you can kind of zip to those fast. Blackwater, once you get rolling, that just kind of just blows right by. So will I have some extra time? Does that mean I'm going to go ahead and pick up the next book in War for the Roadstone? No. I'm going to get a head start on one of my April plans. And of course, it's going to be book number 6 in *Sun-Eater* by Christopher Ruocchio. This is *Disquiet Gods*. And I did get an advanced reader copy of this, but like I said, I never really planned for it on my schedule because it's just such a crapshoot if you'll actually get a review copy or not. So I'll be getting a head start on it if I finish all this other stuff. If not, it was going to be the first thing I read in April anyway. So there we go. That's what I'd be starting with. But you guys know I just recently talked about *Sun-Eater* and why I think it's such an incredible and important series for modern sci-fi readers. So of course I want to see the next step with Hadrian, and lots of people that read it already have said this might be the best book in the series, and that is one hell of a boast. But what is *Disquiet Gods* about, you may ask? Well, it has been nearly 200 years since Hadrian Marlowe walked away from the war, from his empire, from his duty, from the will and service of being known only as the Quiet. And the galaxy lies in the grip of a terrible plague. A messenger has come to ℏ, bearing a summons from the Sullen Emperor for the one-time hero, a summons and a plea. Hapsis, the Emperor's secret first contact intelligence organization, has located one of the dreadful Watchers, the immense powerful beings worshipped by the Cielsen. Called out of retirement and exile, the old hero must race across the galaxy and against time to accomplish one last impossible goal: to kill a god. You know, this is why I tease Christopher about him and Pierce Brown sharing a brain, because kill a god, red god. See what's going on here? I can't wait to see what happens here, because the way that Ashes of Man ended, I was like, well, where are we going from here? And the fact that so many people have said that this might be their favorite in the series has me very, very excited to see what Christopher does come up with. And of course, it's another tome, and I feel like I will probably take several weeks to get through this book. As a *Sun-Eater* book does dictate for me, I don't like to fly through these books. I like to take my time and chew my food a little bit, and I think that's what you need to do with *Sun-Eater* books. You really need to process everything going there. So yeah, it's a little bit shorter of a TBR this month because, yeah, like I said, I want to make sure I wrap some of those things up. Look, I had planned to start *Forever War* by Joe Haldeman. I had planned to read *A Color of Magic* in Discworld. I had planned to do maybe the next Blake Crouch book, which was going to be *Snowbound*. I said I need to pull back a little bit, finish some of these. I definitely don't need to be starting a new series like Discworld. Even though I know Discworld, calm down, Discworld fans, it's going to happen. Like I said, Discworld fans have gone from shut up and read it to no, you're reading it the wrong way. But I'm going to start with *Color of Magic*. You're just going to have to accept that I'm going to do publication order, as my good friend the Bald Booktuber says I have to do. Publication order always, he says. But with that, look, April is going to be a lot more loose. I'm going to have, a couple of series kind of wrapped up. I'll do some more for the Roadstone in April. And then, of course, I will start a couple of new things. That's the plan as of now. And yes, for those who have inquired, Into the Multiverse will be making a comeback, as I feel like I have taken a long enough break now that I can get back into my Stephen King reread, because if I don't do my tier list part 4 of my Stephen King series, I think the internet might just come after me eventually. The BookTube police will come and get me. So that is really the plans right now. So a little bit of kind of a transition month that I didn't plan to do, but I think this doing one book per month thing has it just doesn't work for me, because I feel like you are just cursing yourself by starting several series at once, doing it that way. So I think back to what I did 2 years ago, where I started being like, I'm going to read all of Warlord Chronicles in a month. I'm going to read all of Nevernight in 1 month. I kind of thought that worked out much, much better than this one book per month thing for multiple series. And the lines start to blur a little bit. So I feel like that's the best way. But guys, what will you be reading in March? I would love to know. Are you going to read any of these? I hope you'll pick up some of them. Shogun, amazing book. Never been a better time to read Shogun with a new adaptation coming. Never been a better time to read Dune with Dune Part 2 coming out. Never been a better time to read Blackwater, because it is an amazing book, and I'm going to preach that gospel because I don't feel like anyone on BookTube has talked about Blackwater, and I want to do it. So drop in the comments, guys. Let me know what you are going to read, and I will talk to you there.